What did Gideon do to the two kings of Midian and why? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Judges on Walking Through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing Judges 8 verses 10 to 21, but before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to Judges chapter 8 verse 10, but if you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Judges chapter 8, beginning at verse 10. Now Zebah and Zalmunna were at Karkor, and their armies were with them, about 15,000, all who were left of all the army of the people of the east, for 120,000 men who drew the sword had fallen. Then Gideon went up by the road of those who dwell in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and he attacked the army while the camp felt secure. When Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued them, and he took the two kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and routed the whole army. Then Gideon, the son of Joash, returned from battle, from the ascent of Heres, and he caught a young man of the men of Succoth, and interrogated him, and he wrote down for him the leaders of Succoth and its elders, 77 men. Then he came to the men of Succoth and said, Here are Zebah and Zalmunna, about whom you ridiculed me, saying, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your weary men? And he took the elders of the city, and thorns of the wilderness and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. Then he tore down the tower of Penuel, and killed the men of the city. And he said to Zebah and Zalmunna, What kind of men were they who you killed at Tabor? So they answered, As you are, so were they. Each one resembled the son of a king. Then he said, They were my brothers, the sons of my mother. As the Lord lives, if you had let them live, I would not kill you. And he said to Jether his firstborn, Rise, kill them. But the youth would not draw his sword, for he was afraid, because he was still a youth. So Zebah and Zalmunna said, Rise yourself and kill us, for as a man is, so is his strength. So Gideon arose and killed Zebah and Zalmunna, and took the crescent ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Gideon and his 300 men had succeeded in driving out the Midianites from Israel before they could ravage the land of the crops, as they had been doing for 7 years. He chased them across the Jordan River towards the land of Midian. When Gideon and his men crossed the Jordan in pursuit, they came to the city of Succoth, exhausted. Remember, they had been up all night, for the battle started in the middle of the night. They had chased the Midianites from the Jezreel Valley and across the Jordan. We don't know how long this took, but we do know that it was tiring work. The people of Succoth, though, gave them no bread, for presumably they didn't want to anger the Midianites should Gideon lose. Gideon promised that he would punish them for this act. He then went further east to Penuel and got the same response. Gideon said that he would return and tear down their tower then. As for the Midianites, we know that Zebah and Zalmunna, the two kings of the Midianites, along with their remaining army of about 15,000, was at Karkor. We don't know exactly where that was, but we do know that it was east of Nobah, of the half-tribe of Manasseh, and Jogbehah, of the tribe of Gad, for verse 11 says that. The map on the screen now gives us a possible location. Whatever the case, these kings thought that they were far enough away from Gideon to feel safe to stop. When you consider the amount of people that Gideon's men had killed, and the subsequent army that came at the end of chapter 7, more than 120,000, the Midianites had been routed. This type of military loss would weaken the Midianites as a people, and it would be one that would have taken years to recover from. But Gideon wasn't happy with what he had done thus far. He wanted to ensure that it would never happen again. So Gideon continued to pursue the Midianites, and when he found them at Karkor, he defeated the rest of the army that was there and captured Zebah and Zalmunna. He didn't kill them, though, right away, for there was unfinished business to attend to. Returning by the ascent of Heres, Gideon returned to Succoth and showed his captors to the men of the city. He then took the elders of the city, and with the thorns and briars of the wilderness, Judges says that he taught the men of Succoth. This likely meant that he killed them, for when he went up to Penuel to tear down their tower, like he said he would do earlier, he killed all the men of the city. Both Succoth and Penuel were presented as doing the same thing in refusing Gideon's men's bread. One wasn't said to be more worse than the other, so it is likely that both suffered the same fate. What then with the Midianite kings? Gideon asked them what kind of men whom they had killed at Tabor. Zeba and Zalmunna responded that they were men like Gideon, one that resembled the son of a king. Gideon responded that they were in fact his brothers. Now you might ask, when were Gideon's brothers killed? Remember, the Midianites had been afflicting Israel for 7 years. It is quite possible that Gideon is referring to an event that took place a few years before. And since these were his brethren, Gideon, as the avenger of blood under the law of Moses, had the right to kill these 2 Midianite kings for their murders. Gideon said that had they not killed his brethren, they would be allowed to live. But because they did kill them, these kings must die. Instead of killing them himself, Gideon asked his firstborn to do this. Now we're not told why Gideon did this, but Jether, Gideon's firstborn, was afraid, and so he didn't do so. The 2 Midianite kings retorted back that the youth shouldn't have been told to do this, for that is not the role of a youth, who is much weaker. That is the role of a man, who would have the strength to accomplish the task quickly and precisely. Gideon listened to the 2 men, and so arose up and killed these kings himself, taking the crescent ornaments that were on their camels' necks as spoils from the war. As for the Midianites themselves, they would continue on as a people, and we will read of them a few more times in Scripture. But after Gideon, we do not read of them as a mighty people whom would afflict Israel the way that they did here in the book of Judges. That is the legacy of Gideon and his men, who with the help of God delivered Israel from the hand of the Midianites. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Judges chapter 8, verses 22 to 35, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.